Hello everybody and welcome to the next video on indeterminates. So in the last video we were briefly introduced to what exactly were indeterminates, and I told you that it has to do with 0 over 0, but that's not it. It's not just the 0 over 0 value. And just to recap, I'm going to show you how that occurred. We have limit as x approaches 0 of x squared plus 10x all over x, and once we plugged in this 0 into this expression, we automatically got a value that looked like this. We got 0 over 0 plugging it in, so we had to factor it and then manipulate it and then plug it in again in order for the limit to work out and get a actual factual answer. So in this case, where we have 0 over 0, I pointed out that this is an indeterminate value. Now, let's jump into what that really entails. Is that the only value, or are there more? And the answer to that question is there are more indeterminate values. These are values that if you were to try to plug into your calculator, you would automatically get undefined to. And some of these values you can't plug into your calculator because they have to do with infinity, and infinity is just an idea rather than a number. So later on, when we talk about infinite limits, that will come in handy to memorize these different forms of indeterminate values. So I'm just going to title this Indeterminate Values. Okay, and now what are these values? So we already know our first one, which is 0 over 0. And let's talk about another one, 0 to the power of 0. Plugging this in will also yield you with an error of some sort. 0 times infinity. So I'd say that this one and this one are really common and very beneficial to memorize. I would actually recommend that you memorize all of them, just so that if you see them, you know that there is a problem here, and you'd have to go on to your second step, which is factoring, and then go on based on that. If factoring doesn't work, we'll go in and talk about the other methods that we'll be using to solve infinite limits, and the other method to solving limits that yield indeterminate values later on after you are exposed to derivatives for that one. But let's continue to talk about the other indeterminate values that are present. Then we have 1 to the power of infinity, infinity minus infinity, and infinity to the power of 0. And lastly, infinity divided by infinity. So these are the 7 values that you should spend your time memorizing, and obviously when you see these values pop up after you plug in, make sure you go on to step 2, which was factor, and lastly, plug in after you factor it and manipulate it. So that's it for this one. It was a quick, brief introduction to indeterminate values, just so that you're exposed to them and you understand what to do when you see them. Thank you.